All right, let's talk about one of the absolute boldest, craziest moves in tech history. Seriously, this is a story about a company at the very, very peak of its power that decided to just risk it all.
Yeah, let's just let that sink in for a second. It's a question that sounds completely insane, right? The company we're talking about is Tencent, a Chinese tech titan, and the app was their absolute crown jewel. So why on earth did they decide to bet the entire kingdom on a brand new, unproven idea? So, to really get your head around just how massive this gamble was, you've got to understand the company, its founder, and the absolute giant of an app that they were about to just walk away from.
Now, Tencent was founded way back in 1998 by an engineer named Pony Ma. And this wasn't just some other tech company. By the late 2000s, they basically had a complete stranglehold on social networking in China. And it was all thanks to their first killer app, QQ.
And when I say stranglehold, I am not kidding. At its peak, QQ had over 850 million active user accounts. It wasn't just software, it was a cultural institution. It was woven into the very fabric of daily life for a whole generation. It really seemed completely invincible. And yet, even with all that success, all that power, Tencent decided to build something totally new, completely from scratch. That something was called WeChat, and it was about to become even bigger. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with it, calling WeChat a messaging app is it's a massive understatement. It's what we call a super app. Think of it as an entire digital ecosystem where you can chat with your friends, sure, but you also pay your bills, you order food, you book flights, and you can access millions of other services. And the real magic, the secret sauce that makes this whole thing work, is something called mini programs. We're talking over 2.4 million of them, basically tiny little apps that live inside WeChat. You can order from your local coffee shop or book a doctor's appointment without ever downloading another app or even leaving WeChat itself. It just fundamentally changed how people interact with businesses. But to really appreciate the genius and frankly the sheer guts of the WeChat move, we've got to rewind the clock a bit and understand just how dominant its older sibling, QQ, really was.
So it started as a pretty simple PC chat client, but QQ just kept evolving. Yeah, it added email to compete there, but the real game changer was social gaming. Long before the smartphone was everything, QQ wasn't just how you talked to friends. It was where you played, where you shopped, and where you did business.
And nothing, I mean nothing, shows its power quite like QQ Farm. This super simple game where you could steal your friends' virtual crops became a national obsession, a phenomenon, and the revenue? It was absolutely staggering. It generated the equivalent of 46 billion US dollars in just 5 years, all from selling little virtual items. This thing wasn't just a product, it was a money printing machine. So that brings us right back to our main question. Why on earth would you mess with that kind of success? Well, the answer lies in the unique mind of Tencent's founder, Pony Ma.
Now, in the world of Chinese tech, everyone knows Jack Ma from Alibaba, the flamboyant showman. Pony Ma is pretty much his exact opposite. Quiet, academic, a true engineer at heart, who completely avoids the spotlight. But you can't let that quiet demeanor fool you, because beneath that surface is a leader who is capable of making incredibly swift and incredibly daring decisions. And in the late 2000s, right as the smartphone revolution was just beginning, he sensed that the ground was about to shift right under his feet. He saw two major crises coming directly for his empire. First, on the business front, professionals were starting to ditch QQ's casual chat for the formality of email. And second, on the social front, a brand new app called Weibo, you can think of it as the Twitter of China, was just exploding in popularity with its public one-to-many style of messaging. QQ was getting attacked from both sides. As he later said, I felt a great sense of crisis. He knew that in technology, if you're standing still, you're already dead. He realized he had to disrupt himself before somebody else did it to him. And this led to maybe the most important decision in Tencent's entire history. So they're building this new mobile app. Do they take the safe route, option A, and just leverage those 850 million QQ users, letting everyone import their massive friend lists? Or do they take a radical bet, option B, start from absolute zero and build a new social network based on a user's real-life phone contacts? He chose the radical bet.
In a move that must have terrified some people, he gave the green light to a new app that would completely ignore QQ's 850 million users. It would build its network from the ground up using nothing but the address book on your phone. And that app, of course, was WeChat.
So, how'd that bet work out? Well, that single decision to favor real-world connections over a massive but messy digital network, it turned out to be the key to absolutely everything that came next.
And this chart just says it all. After a bit of a slow start, WeChat introduced these genius features like Shake, where two people could literally shake their phones to add each other as friends. That kind of real-world interaction went totally viral. The user numbers just exploded, proving that a network based on real relationships was way more powerful. So this brings us to the real takeaway, the core lesson here. See, Pony Ma wasn't emotionally attached to his product QQ. He was focused on his business model, the pillars of social, gaming, payments, and B2B services. He realized that in this new mobile era, WeChat, built on a social graph of real-life phone contacts, was a much, much better vehicle for that model than QQ could ever be. He was willing to let his new product eat his old one, to literally cannibalize his own success, just to protect the long-term health of his company. It's a really profound lesson. The product is temporary, but the underlying business model, that has to be built to last. And this just leaves us with a really fascinating question for today's tech world. Could a company like Google or Meta or Apple make a similar choice? Could they willingly destroy their most successful product just to save themselves from a future they see coming? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.